Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Success Coaching Live. My name is Reid, and we're going to have our friend David join us in just a minute. So, kind of exciting. I wanted to take us out and about again. Somebody had asked, can we go on a tour again? So, good morning, Melanie Massey. How are you? Good morning, David. We'll be bringing you on in just a minute. I wanted to bring you down to the bridge. Can you guys all see the bridge behind me? Thumbs up, yes. See how it like roller coasters? Isn't that the coolest bridge in the world? So if you notice, see it goes up and down like a roller coaster. So there's one that comes into town and one goes out of town, and they're like snake bridges. Well, you know how we have to cross this bridge to leave our house every day. And so, of course, Melanie, we hit this bridge as quickly as we can. And then the trick is right there at the top. See right there at the top and right down the other way. But right there, if you take your foot off the gas, your stomach drops through the loop, and then you got another loop on the other side. So it's so much fun on the way to school every morning hearing the kids go, woo, woo. Well, the first time we came to Uruguay, we didn't know about this bridge. Good morning, Diana. And so I'm barreling through town in my typical driving fashion, 90 miles and a 45-mile speed limit. And we hit that bridge, and I swear we airborned all the way to the second hump. But I have to credit whoever created this bridge, because they clearly had a great sense of humor. They knew that life should be fun and that we should, just laugh and have a good time. So this bridge crosses up this way is the river, and down that way is the sea. So it's where the interior river connects to the sea. And so whenever we go over it, it's kind of like our barometer. If it's high or low in the water, we know what's happening weather-wise. It's just a really cool thing. And typically, if there's a triathlon or something going on in the area, they use this area for part of the swim. So people will line up on the bridge and watch them swim either up the river, down the river, across the canal kind of thing. So I'm going to bring Dave on here in just a minute. As you guys know, this is Fun Friend Friday, and I lack a theme song still. But what I want you to do is right now hit share, send it out, get everybody involved, because my good friend Dave, Photo Dave, will be joining us with leadership lessons. And again, if you haven't done this before, here's the little mini lesson. You just slide, you find the person, you click on their icon, and it says they'll be receiving an invite to join you. It says inviting, pick it up and say connecting or connected, or they'll go off to the bathroom and you'll stand here and look foolish. Now it says he's connecting. And so, boom, Photo Dave is in the house.
Buenos días, mi amigo.
Buenos días. ¿Está bien?
Está bien, yeah.
Ah, gracias. See, Andre, we can do it. That was just for Andre and anybody else that speaks Spanish. So, Photo Dave, so this is the river. Can you imagine being in the car with your kids going every morning to school on this? Isn't it the coolest bridge?
I was actually excited about the triathlon to be able to try to swim in that little, I don't know, is that a river? It looked great.
Well, the river is up that way. And the sea is that way. So what they'll do is typically they'll swim somewhere in this area because there's not a lot of heavy wave. And then they get out and they either have to run across the bridge to get to the bike side, and then they bike back across. So we utilize this bridge all the time. The funny thing is this bridge is like only 2 lanes. Well, 1.5 if you have ever been to South America. And every so often, like a truck will go over and get stuck in the middle. And things here don't work the same in the U.S. So you'll come over the bridge and all of a sudden you'll be like, there's somebody stopped in the middle of it. And you have to make quick adjustments. So it is our daily joy. This bridge and the guy that invented it or designed it, I have to just honestly thank him every morning for making me laugh.
I could have probably made Evan sick on that bridge pretty quickly. That's a good one.
It's funny because honestly, we've been over this bridge 300,000 times, I feel like. Every time Eva's in the backseat and she goes, woo! And it's like, are you doing it because you feel it or just because it's become habit? If we have friends in the car, we'll like hands in the air and you'll hear them all like hit the ceiling. So I can make it really good. It's probably best to go over it at 20 miles an hour, but I hit it at 60 because I'm the fun dad. So,
Of course.
Welcome everybody. Take a minute and hit share. So we invite everybody to join Photo Dave. Now you know why he's Photo Dave. Look at that. I was looking, I'm thinking, do I have my, I do have my grandpa glasses on. So I'm good with Dave. One of the things
my
we
grandpa
do.
glasses on too.
Yeah. One of the things we always do is we've got to have some music. Oh, by the way, Dave, if the wind gets too strong, just kind of like go like this, and so I'll cover the mic. But we got to have music. We got to have music. And I tried to, I was struggling and I was struggling and I was trying to think about what it should be. And I came up with this. And if you don't get this, you lose the Maati forever. So are you ready for your song challenge?
Okay, sure.
Did you get it?
It's got to be a TV theme. No?
I went into the archives.
Oh my gosh. You know what's bad?
How about Moaning? Charles Mingus?
Oh, yeah, nice.
1956. I went back to your high school friends.
Oh, love it. Yeah, my high school friends, right? Yeah. Evan will know that, and he'll probably kill me for not knowing that.
I mean, I went and dug out the saxophone of all saxophones in jazz.
I'm digging it, man. I'm digging it. That's awesome.
One of the things people may or may not know about you is you like jazz.
I love jazz. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry. I'm Motown. I'm maybe a little Chicago
like Motown
BTO. I'm a little old school disco. I'm, ABBA. I don't understand jazz. Because to me, it just sounds like a bunch of chaos.
Yeah, what was it like the first time you heard Spanish?
A bunch of chaos.
Yeah, exactly. So, jazz is really like communication. And so you kind of have to tune into the frequency, tune into the language. And when you really kind of get your whole emotions into it, you start to hear the conversation that either the soloist is giving, or a couple of, if there's a duet going, that improv is just simply just kind of riffing on whatever that particular artist wants to riff on. And so it's a communication, and so you just have to kind of tune into it.
Which is, maybe that's my lack, is that like I'll be getting the beat and I'll be wanting to, I'm in the chorus, and all of a sudden they go running off this direction, or they go running over here. All of a sudden where'd the piano jump in? He hasn't been here all day.
Yeah.
How does that work in jazz?
Well, there's a pattern, and you got to remember too that I was a music major for one semester.
You just birthed a lot of music people.
Yes, exactly. I took my first music theory class, decided I think I better go business route, and so that's what I did. However, I do know this is that there's a pattern, and there's a framework for for the music and for the score, and so there's certain patterns that the musicians walk through, and there's there may be like an A section and a B section, and then if you'll ever watch musicians, sometimes they'll pat their head and they're going back to the head. It's kind of like the chorus, and so everybody then knows that it's time to go back to that one spot. So there's a framework that all jazz musicians know, and typically they'll have that framework on their music in front of them.
So you asked me ahead of time what to prepare for. I told you there was nothing we could prepare for because I don't like doing that. So now
Yep.
you just set me up or set yourself up. So you were in the room when Gloria Spurgis used classical music to teach about leadership lessons. Give me a 3 to 5 minute lesson based on what you just taught us about jazz, how that applies in corporate leadership kind of roles.
Okay, wow, that's a great one. That's actually really cool because, interestingly enough, I use a framework when I'm teaching culture and culture development because you have to have a framework to run on. And most leaders don't really have a framework to develop their culture in an organization. And I think there's a couple of different ways to think about culture. I think that you can think about a culture in an organizational way, in terms of a company as a whole. But then I think you can also think of a culture, basically the culture of you and the culture of me. And I've been thinking a little bit more about that particular aspect of culture lately, especially as it relates to the framework, because I use a framework that first defines the behaviors that an organization wants. And I don't think you can see this right now, but I was working with a Fortune 500 company right now. You'll see my ugly scribble all over my dry erase board.
You do very well compared to me.
But I was working with a team of a Fortune 500 company this week. And they have, tens of thousands of employees, and yet this one division is focused on growth and innovation. And so we were developing the behaviors that they want to practice that will propel them into the future and into the next level of their organization's growth.
So I need to ask you a question because sure. I get to interrupt because I'm the host. That's what,
absolutely.
Johnny Carson probably does. This is where you take your coffee cup and sip. So is it behavior that drives the company? There you go. Is it behavior that drives a company or culture that drives a company?
See, I think of culture as in terms of behaviors.
Whoa.
Because behaviors are really what goes on in a company. And so I'll often tell a CEO, I can tell everything about your culture by the behaviors that you tolerate and allow to happen in your organization. And that's just it. I mean, most companies just allow behaviors.
So if a CEO, team leader, executive parent, because you've been through that, as they start down that slippery slope of allowing behaviors to occur, they're corrupting the culture that may be printed on the wall by the entrance that says these are our values, our missions, and our purpose. That the tolerance of behaviors is, or the lack of adherence to the behaviors is the beginning of destruction for a company.
I'm not sure I would say destruction. I mean, you use the word corrupt the culture. I think I would better describe it as being incongruent. So you may have vision, mission, and values on the wall, and that's where they stay. They're not congruent with what happens, in the business. I was just checking out Diane's note on culture. Culture is your beliefs and values that drive your actions and behaviors, which impact your outcome. Yeah, I totally agree, Diane.
So if you were going to come into a company, would you start with culture or start with behaviors based on what Diane is saying?
Well, I think they're one and the same. So I would start with defining the behaviors. A lot of times what I do is I facilitate a process. That's what this board was behind me. I facilitated a process to define those behaviors that will drive success. Things like practicing blameless problem solving or listening generously.
And I agree. And one of the things I think that it's important for leaders and parents and just people in influence really is to understand it's easier to monitor and, as we talked about yesterday, reward behaviors as we grow a culture. it's kind of hard to get everybody on board and excited and enthusiastic and doing the woo for long, because after they walk out of the event, after the meeting is over, after the pizza is cooled down, they're like, now what? And if they don't have that set of behaviors that somebody can say you're maintaining it, you're achieving it, you're perfecting it, then what happens? The next day it all just kind of goes back to what it was before, because culture, at least culture has, just like in yogurt, it takes time to grow.
Indeed, it does. And you know what's interesting too is if a company only creates the behaviors and says, okay, these are the behaviors that we want in our organization, you're exactly right. That's as far as it goes. It's just like a mission, vision, and value statement. But what's really key to any culture is the practice of those behaviors. And so when I'm working with a company, I will help them create the rituals or the cadences, whatever they want to call it. I typically call it a ritual, to be able to practice those behaviors. And so that, and usually what happens is we take a cyclical approach to practicing those behaviors, so that we take one of those behaviors every week and practice that. And what I mean by that is, for example, you know, the CEO may send out weekly an email talking about what that week's fundamental or behavior is, and then every day that week, any meeting that's scheduled, there's a short conversation about that behavior before the meeting gets started. So the practicing is the key to perpetuating the behaviors.
And, you know, you've run a triathlon, you get it. You don't get up and you don't do the whole triathlon on the first day without practicing the behavior. And it's funny when you watch Ironmen like you, they actually practice getting on the bike, getting on the transition points even. The things that we would take for granted, like how do you get out of a wetsuit and into running gear in the shortest amount of time? Well, you practice that like 500 times. You don't leave it to the day of event. So I like the idea that you say that sometimes you got to micro practice, that you've got to find one behavior, and whether it's defined on Monday as this is the behavior of the week, but every meeting, every memo, every project, every voice of the company that week is reminding of the behavior and rewarding it and acknowledging it, so then it becomes a habit, which I always say, you know, habits become results that give us the lifestyle that we want. And so cultures totally and companies need to develop those habits / behaviors if they want that culture at the end.
Yeah, so how does that, agree.
And I can see that in the jazz, because as you said, there's the A line and the B line, and then we're allowed to go off on it and do our own thing and be creative and be independent and bring our own thoughts and energy, but we need to maintain that A line and B line. And if the behavior goes so far off note, I guess for a jazz reference, somebody's got to be willing to tap the head and say, no, we need to come back online. We need to bring this back into that original beat, that original sound, that original whatever. It doesn't make me like jazz anymore, but it makes me understand corporate culture better.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, it's interesting that you brought in this whole idea of triathlon and practicing transitions, because when you said that, it actually triggered a memory for me and a little bit of a story where I had a triathlon training buddy who we trained.
Doesn't everybody?
Every day. Of course. If you want to stay consistent, you do. But anyway, so we trained every day together. We put thousands of miles on the bike together. And I knew where he was strong, and I knew where I was strong. And where I knew that I could gain a little bit of an advantage was in that transition area. And one of the things that, matter of fact, I've got a picture on my wall where I beat him by 3 seconds. And the difference was I didn't wear socks when I went from the water to the bike, and from the bike to the run. I left my socks off. And so to this day, we always talk about, the 3-second socks. And it really is a matter of those small small things make a huge difference when it comes to, winning, success, high performance. And so I tell CEOs that all the time, that it makes a huge difference, and leadership has to drive that.
I may steal the 3-second sock story, just so you know, because I think in business and in personal, so often we think, oh, it's only it's only socks. It's only 5 minutes on Facebook. Oh, it's only an extra $20 a month being this, or it's only, we think it's only this.
Right.
And, we often use that expression, well, it's only Monday that I didn't do it, or it's only one day that I'm not going to follow through, or it's only one employee that I let behave in this manner. But as you said, that only socks thing was the difference between winning and taking second.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
well, and I think oh yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so sometimes if you hear in your head that statement of it's only socks, from now on, everybody's going to be walking around, and when they see photo, they go, it's only socks. It's only socks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you hear yourself saying that, it's only, you know what? That may be the one thing that could be shifted in such a way that it could move you into the winning position.
Absolutely. And I think it's really interesting to be able to focus on the small things, because it's the small things. I think you even said it earlier, it's the small things that create the habits that then turn into, the success and the achievements. And I'm a huge habit, I guess, someone who really believes in habits. And I've been working on my own over the past year, as a matter of fact, and actually the past couple of years. But habits make the difference, and you have to be able to find those little things. And like you said, if you think if only or it's only, then that may be a clue to say, I wonder how I need to think differently about that only habit.
I love that lesson. It's only socks. It's only socks. Y'all are going to be like, I think that's going to be like the title of Dave's next book. It's only socks.
It's only socks.
It was. How about if we change it to it was only socks? So
or even it was only 3 seconds.
It was only 3 seconds. Hey, 3 seconds on a space shuttle can make a big difference. So I'm going to give us our music here a minute, and then this is the Fun Friend Friday tradition. I need a Fun Friend Friday announcer. So as you may have seen in past episodes, Diane, Melanie, Holly, and Dr. Gail, a couple people here have already played the game. We have envelopes. Inside each envelope is a word. Words similar to things like growth, contribution, influence, culture, intuition, timing, legacy. I don't know what's in the envelopes because little A. Little Andrew, sorry, I had to duck off camera. I'm not a pro like you, and I'm about to fall off my hill. So Dave is a photo. I feel like we're almost like half twins here. Half twins, God forbid. I could never stand next to photo Dave. I had mine touched up to match yours. I had some extra gray put in.
Good.
So, little A filled the envelopes. He didn't tell me what was in them. He's now gotten up, and he's now is tomorrow that fun thing? And he tries to do Fun Friend Friday, but you know what it's like. He keeps changing the word, and I'm like, yes. And he goes, do I have to do the envelopes? I'm like, yes, you have to do the envelopes. And he sends me out of my office while he does it. I have no idea why I have to leave the office, but I participate. So we have, red balloon. Yellow star, orange star, yellow moon. I guess I need to back up. Blue diamond. I wish Evan was here to pick it. I miss Evan. Rainbow.
Yeah.
Pink heart. Sorry. And green clover. So which envelope and mystery word are you going?
Charms.
Y'all, Dave is a great leader. Not the quickest, but he's great. Yes, the Lucky Charms symbols for the cereal Did you? I bet your kids were the ones that would like pick out the marshmallows and you'd get a box of cereal and it was just cereal, no marshmallows left.
Megan was. Megan was the one that did
Meg-
that. My oldest. Yeah.
yeah. We don't buy marshmallow
All right.
cereal in our house because they don't quite understand that when they put it in their mouth and then reach back in the box, the hands are all sticky and yeah. The joy of
Yes.
children.
Right. Yes.
Which envelope would you
All
like
right.
from the
So,
Lucky Charms of leadership?
well, since I'm Irish in heritage, I got to go with the 4-leaf clover. It is 4 leaves, right?
This one.
So it's lucky.
Yes, it's lucky, but you don't know.
Okay.
My kid could have put something in there like poopy or something. No, that's not one of his choice
Right.
words. Ooh, this is a good word. So what happens is now I like I say all the time, I have to open it where everybody can see it so I don't Steve Harvey you. But
Right.
you'll be given a word and you get to teach
Okay.
a 3-5-minute lesson based on that word using any reference you want. I'm going to cover up my mic once I say it because I hear the wind picking up. So your word is trade-offs.
Trade-offs. I love that word because as we think about habits, there are trade-offs in any habit, and we have to make those trade-offs every day. When we want to improve a habit, we have to be able to think about what is it that we have to trade off? What is it that we have to give up so that we can, as in John Maxwell's terminology, what do we have to give up so that we can go up? And so those
So I
trade-offs
want
are
to
really
pull in a
important.
leadership lesson. Did you see he didn't say add habits on, but trade one habit for the other? Because so often we think I'm just going to create this new habit and we try and dump it into the current lifestyle. Whereas what Dave said
Right.
is you have to give up something to go into something.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that, and I think that one thing that I'm learning, even as a leader, is that many times we have to be able to learn to say no to things. And that sometimes for those of us who, love all kinds of experiences and fun things, it's hard. I think, oh gosh, that sounds fun. Let's go do that. Oh, I think I should do that. And I'm learning to say no. And so I think the trade-offs are being able to say no to something that sounds good for something that is of more importance and more significance. And I think that key is the key to trade-offs, is that looking at what are we going to trade off for. So we have to find something that we have right now or something that we want, but something that we want of more significance. And I think that's really the key to looking at trade-offs and looking at how do we determine what are we going to trade off. And Tamara, saying no is your challenge. Mine too. I love the fact that we have to be able to look at all of the incredible possibilities and things that we could do or goals that we want to accomplish. And we have to make those trade-offs. I mean, one of the things that I'm looking at right now, as I look into 2018 and my own personal and business goals, are those trade-offs. And one of my mastermind groups is I've been telling them about some thoughts that I've been having about completely blowing up my normal routine and my normal calendar so that I can actually accomplish what I want to accomplish in 2018. And it's going to require a total redo of my calendar and my ideal week. So I'm going to have to trade off on some things. So I guess that
What
would
I
be
think is
my
interesting, and I want to stop in for a sec. So,
Yeah.
and I'm sure if you turned around on your bookshelf, you probably have a version of the E-Myth on some level. But that
Right.
entrepreneur spirit that's in all of us that says, oh, I'm going to go for this, and oh, that looks great, and I'm going to do that creative process energy that has gotten most of us to where we're at.
Yep.
Can sometimes be our worst enemy if we don't bring in the technician and the manager to say, wait a minute, if you chase that, what resources, energy are you going to have to give up, lose focus of, or delegate out for you to be entitled to that? And so often, and I'm guilty of it, I'll say, yeah, go. And then I'll get there. I'm like, wait a minute. I forgot. I got all of this off stuff that I'm supposed to be managing, controlling, taking care of. Or I'll look back and think that somebody else had it and it doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, and one of the things that is really, you talk about bringing somebody else into the mix. And for me, it's obviously Cindy. You know, Cindy helps me to be able to kind of figure out what do I need to trade
Saint
off.
Cindy.
Yeah, Saint Cindy, exactly. But yeah, so those trade-offs definitely really, you know, are sometimes they're hard, and sometimes you're trading off one thing for some good thing that for another that's really equally as good.
So, and I'm sort of following up on what Tamara says here is that, like, what is a list of trade-offs? So I understand that you have some big trade-offs. You traded off Evan for a car, but, you know, I think that's okay. Evan's his son, y'all. And Evan has a cool car, and every so often you'll get a picture of Photo Dave in the cool car. And Evan is just, absolutely. Evan has to teach him how to shift gears because he has this very particular way that you don't rest your hand on the gear and take your foot off the clutch pedal after you've finished shifting gears. Evan is great. He's not Andrew, but he'll try. And Evan gets the joke. What is a trade-off that you made in the last, I don't know, 10 days that is causing that, like, okay, I consciously made this trade-off because I wanted this?
So one thing in particular that I did in the last 10 days is that I, just in my calendar, some trade-off of one thing, you know, that I was going to be doing for a client, I knew that I could do at a later time. So I traded that off for working on a new program that I want to launch into the new year. And so it was really a time trade-off. So it's basically something that I knew that I could do later. It wasn't pressing time-wise. And so I traded that off just really a task trade, I guess, is the thing that I could think of most recently.
So, and sometimes it's true in business that we think we have to get it all done now, when sometimes what our clients and our customers and our employees need is maybe like, no, wait, we're going to hold that project. We're going to hold that implementation. We're going to hold that big vision thing until we settle in here, until the concrete settles. Let's not start building the walls. And so often that trade-off of I want to be there now needs to be traded for I will be there, but I want to be there 100% ready for it. And so I see that often in businesses. They try and rush because some calendar or goal expectation, or if I don't make it by the end of 2017 or 2018, everybody's going to think I'm a failure. And so they jump into it before they've really laid the foundations.
Well, and interestingly, you say that because the same client that I was working with this past week, I did a 4-hour workshop, and it was the first time I had ever done it virtually. And so we had about 10 people on Zoom, and one of the things that one of the people talked about was just not even having time to, maybe go to the bathroom or having, a little bit of a coffee break, that she was so busy doing the things that she needed to do. She was being run by other people's agenda. And sometimes I really think that it's as important to be able to stop, just like you said, stop and really just assess what really is important here. What is that noise? Is that a bird?
Yes. And these are birds that are very territorial. If you've been in Australia, they have mockingbirds. So if you see somebody coming for me, it's the bird. So yes, I'm a little distracted. I may get attracted. It's the green It's the green parrots. They're fine. They're safe.
Okay. Anyway, so, just thinking about being busy, and I think that in corporate life, so many times we feel like we have to be busy and we have to keep doing and doing and doing rather than stopping and assessing what is it that we need to be doing that's really important, that's really significant, and really drive our own agenda.
I love that. I love the law of trade-offs. So here's my job now as the host, is to bring the lesson of jazz and the lesson of trade-offs and the lesson of stopping together spontaneously. See, I'm stalling. Do you like this? Do you like this stalling technique that we use? So even in jazz, there is those high energy drum, bass, saxophones that are full of noise and energy and commotion. But in order to give those their full space, often you'll hear the music just stop. Now, I'm often the guy in the audience that's like, and then they'll pick up again, and you're like, oh, that wasn't the end of the song. I think listening to jazz and understanding that that's the moment when everybody is regrouping, reorganizing, getting back on, like, as you said, that A line, B line, that header note, breathing in so that they have the momentum to finish out the set, finish out the riff or whatever they're doing, is very much the same lesson in business. Sometimes, yes, there is energy. Sometimes there is commotion and noise and sax and bass and drummers and piano players and all of that going on around us. But sometimes there has to be silence long enough for everybody to catch their breath, figure out what the real notes are that we need to be playing, get back on note so that they can finish out successfully.
No doubt.
Did I do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. No doubt about it. Because I'll tell you, when you're listening to jazz or you're listening to any music, and I see that Evan's on now, so that's awesome. So Evan, we're talking about
Evan,
jazz today.
Your dad didn't know the artist. Should we play it for Evan and see how long it takes him to guess the song?
Yes, absolutely. Play the song, and Evan, you can comment in the box.
Evan, if you get this right in the next 30 seconds, you get 4 new tires for the car when you get home. Evan doesn't want tires. I feel bad for the boy. Because tires on a college student's bank account, well, he's on your bank account, so what's it matter, right?
He has a bank account.
You know what Evan is? Evan is young enough that he's like Spotifying it. He's like got his phone next to the mic and he's Spotifying it. Problem is when you pull music from 1956.
He can't hear it. Turn it
up. Evan, can you turn it up? Oh, sorry. Evan, you lost the tires, dude. You're too young to know the price is right, but you just got zonked. There you go. Yes, Evan. Oh, I was like, Dad, this kid has got so just for the people who are tuning in, David's son, that's Dave, and his son, Evan, down below. Evan has gotten a full scholarship to, I forgot which, I know it's
University of North Texas,
which is the #1 jazz music school in the country. Evan is,
if not the world,
phenomenal musician, is really dedicated. I mean, when other kids were out trick-or-treating, Evan was in the basement playing saxophone kind of thing. I mean, Evan has dedicated a lot of hard work and energy to achieving a dream and a goal. And I know Evan Dad doesn't tell you too often, but I know that Mom does. They're both very proud of you. And today when I was putting together the leadership lesson, I sort of thought, okay, I got to come up with a song that Dad will like, but he won't cry because you know what happens when we talk about Evan being away at school. It's just in-state tuition. Evan, we're working on the full scholarship. Dad's got a whole new business plan that he'll be able to not only pay for that, but your graduate level school. Now Molly's going to get on. So before we talk about the kids and become like an old you know, like uncle to uncle, what's going on with the kids. I love the idea of being able to now understand that the jazz and the rifting and the A and the B line and the tapping of the head and all of that is really the whoever the leader of the band is, keeping people in the same culture, the same behavior, but allowing them to express themselves as well and their own natural talents. You know, the sax will take off, or the trumpet will take off, or the bass line will take off. But they all know that they've got to be able to come back at a moment's notice to that header line or to that B line or A line that you're talking about, and how in companies and business, we do want to allow everybody that freedom of expression to do what they do best. And in disc profiles, we have D's and I's and S and C's to allow them to express their best. But we've got to also, as leaders, be able to say, wait a minute, this is the behavior. This is the culture of our company. And though you may display it this way, it still has to reflect the core value, the core behavior that we're trying to establish universally. And so I love the way those two lessons kind of wrapped around each other, and that how, as you said, with habits and the law of trade-off, we don't add habits. We have to look at it and say, what is it that I'm currently doing? What is it that I want to be doing? What am I willing to give up to be allowed to do into? You know, I've often heard it said that every yes is a no, or every no is a yes to something else. And so if you're going to say yes to a new habit, what are you going to say no to? You know, if it's the habit of preparing for an Ironman, there's a lot of no's, including ice cream.
Indeed.
Now, you know why I've never run an Ironman.
Oh, no. Sometimes running an Ironman is just so that you can eat more ice cream.
Oh, I may have a 2018 goal.
See, there you go.
Yeah, me going over this bridge. It's funny because it doesn't look that rough, but that's a pretty steep incline. And my favorite thing is to watch bicyclists. They'll like take the down and they'll think they'll have enough momentum to get up the top. And then you'll see them pushing it over the first bump. The really good bicyclists know how to shift the gears in the middle. So yeah, that's our fun wavy. I don't know if it has a name, but we call it the wavy bridge.
Nice.
Dave, you have dumped like big nuggets. What is your next project or your next online teaching that you're doing? Because you and I have done Think and Grow Rich together, which was fun.
Yeah, and actually, I've had some requests for another Think and Grow Rich. So sometime in 2018, we're going to be doing Think and Grow Rich again, which will be a lot of fun. And I'm actually creating a program that will be launched right after the first of the year. I don't have a name for it yet, so it's still culminating in my head and in my computer. But I'm working on it right now.
Socks.
Socks. I may have to incorporate some of the teaching that we talked about here today with trade-offs and creating habits. And quite honestly, that's a lot of what will go into this new program, because I know that it's hard to create habits and it's hard to make those trade-offs. But and sometimes you need a coach, as you know. I mean, coaching is all about coming alongside somebody, helping them to think outside the box that's in their own mind and their own frame of reference, and being able to ask the right questions to help them think of the possibilities and think of how you could do something. So the program that I'm working on is going to be an experiential program. So it'll have time with me, time with group learning, and so I'll definitely let you know when I get it ready to launch. It should be right after the first of the year, and maybe we can talk about that later at some other Facebook.
I love it.
Time.
I've had the privilege of doing Think and Grow Rich, and it's funny because we think so differently that it's always fun. And we were in Paraguay together, and Dave and I have been doing trainings around Paraguay for the day. And finally, we looked at each other and said, let's try one together. And it was really interesting to watch your style of teaching versus mine and the way you approach a room and a group. And I really want to encourage people that are talking about bringing somebody into their company or into their team or hiring a coaches. If you've had one coach or a counselor or consultant and it didn't work, that's not all. because the way Dave develops companies and designs companies and helps them understand culture and habits is completely different than what you would get from me. And so often when I consult, I may be like, I'm not the guy for you right now. Or vice versa. I may say, yeah, I'm the guy for you. And I'm sure it happens with Dave and some of the other coaches that are on here. Just like Dave is all about jazz and I'm all about Motown, we can find a way of communicating between the two. They both got great rhythm.
Indeed. Indeed.
Well,
this has been fun today, Eric. Appreciate it.
What was it more? Was it scarier than you expected?
Oh heavens! You know I like improv, so this is amazing. this is like right in my element, man. I love it.
Well, it's improv for me. I often will think about it, and then it downloads automatically. Got the jazz going for you one more time, Evan, because I'm gonna learn to like it. I promise. I'll start to understand it more now that I've
like
had
a little
leadership
Mingus in the morning
based on it. Mingus in the morning, yes. I was trying to see this. So this was recorded on Atlantic Records. Oh yeah, the year you graduated, 1961. I want to thank you for joining me on Success Coaching Live. We do this. I do Success Coaching Live Monday through Thursday, and then Fun Friend Friday. Maybe Evan could write a theme song. Not jazz though, Evan. Fun Friend Friday theme song, so we could have that to play as well. And then, y'all, Dave's going to drop his link. Follow him. There's a lot of style of teaching that I've really learned from him and have implemented. And I'm sure if you're a coach or a trainer, you can get quite a bit of new insight because he does things at a corporate level differently than I've seen other trainers and coaches do. So I always appreciate getting a chance to sit down with him, brainstorm, think things out, and figure out the best strategy to move forward. When is Evan due home? In 4 days?
4 days.
Go ahead.
4 days. Hey, before I forget, I'm going to drop, here's what I'll do. I'm going to drop a link in the comments when we're done. And it'll be a link to get, I published a book earlier part of this year called Navigating Change for High-Performing Leaders. And so if you want to get a copy of that, I'll put a link in there, and that'll give you a chance to not only follow me, but also get my book as well.
Do that, because I have it. I need to bring it and get it signed by the author, but I do have it. And Reid, we always say steal. Just replicate and duplicate.
Plagiarism is the best form of flattery, my friend, so it's all good.
I work with a lot of real estate agents, and I try and tell them there is nothing new, just something improved, and you can be the person that does it. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody else, for joining us on Fun Friend Friday with my friend Dave, and a little bit of jazz and lessons on habits and jazz and trade-offs. Take a minute and rip off and duplicate. That's what it is. Thank you, Andrew. I knew it was R&D. I just couldn't remember what the R was. Rip off and duplicate. Somebody else has been in the same class I have. Take a minute and share this out. There's some great lessons, and we will have I've got a Fun Friend Friday lined up for next week as well. We're going to be, when I leave here, I actually get to go over the wavy bridge, hands in the air style, even though I'm driving alone. Why not? It's like a built-in smile every day.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much. Great. I will see you later. And Dave's going to drop the link here for his book, so make sure to check it out as well. Thank you again, Dave. And sorry, Evan, no tires.
Thanks, Eric.
Bye-bye.
See ya.